Hello and welcome to another tabletop game here on the Sitrep podcast channel. I'm your host, Iraqi Jim, and today we're continuing our wargame series commemorating the 30th anniversary of Desert Storm and the Gulf War of 1991. So this is a 15mm table, measuring about 6 feet by 4, and the system we're using is Battlegroup, originally by Iron Fist Publishing and now Plastic Soldier Company. So like we've said in previous videos, Battlegroup is of course a World War II system, and Desert Storm is obviously a 1991 conflict, but Battlegroup is a system I'm pretty familiar with, and I also really enjoy. I'm also finding that this system is really adaptable, and so you can create new units that you need for a 1991 wargame pretty easily, given a decent knowledge of military history, technology, and of course the Battlegroup system. So first of all, obviously here we have some Iraqi infantry here. We have some T-55-54s in entrenched positions. Note the platoon markings on the muzzle brakes there. We also have some Iraqi bunkers here in the sandberms. A lot of these were already deserted by the time these Marine units reached these lines, and we'll talk about when exactly we are in the war here. There's a lot of Iraqi wrecks already on the table. This is the second day of the official ground war, 25 February. But there was already a lot of action even before the start of the ground war. This was not a 100-hour war. So here we have a Marine Rifle Squad, 3 fire teams of 4 plus a squad leader. We have some new M60A1 battle tanks, complete with the ERA reactive armor panels, and we'll get into how those work later. We have our new AH-1 Super Cobra, specifically an AH-1W Super Cobra helicopter gunship. We have our command team here, which I think you guys have seen in previous videos. We also have our Humvee platoon, mostly with 50 cals, also Mark 19s and a tow launcher. Another Marine Rifle Squad there again, and some some AAV-7s. Now I do apologize, these are the wrong scale, these are actually 10mm vehicles. I know they look like they're the same size as our tanks, trust me, these vehicles are huge in real life. And then we have a Marine Anti-Tank Squad, so that's going to have a mixture of Laws, AT-4s, and Dragons. Here we have some Iraqi infantry, here along the wing. Also here in the town of El Jaber are, again we'll get into the setting in just a little bit, some RPGs. Now these tanks are actually Type 59-2s, Type 59 version 2s. We're proxy using them for T-62s in this game here, per the historical record of this particular battle here. Oh, here we have a ZSU-23-4 anti-aircraft vehicle. Because I'm putting Marine aircraft already on the table, I wanted to give them at least some air defense, the Iraqis some air defense. BTR-60s, you guys saw those in previous videos. Here by the oil field, again we'll talk about the setting in just a second, and of course some yet more Iraqi infantry, so a pretty big game here in general. So this game takes place in the second day of the ground war, 25 February. We're looking at the town of El Jaber over there to the left, and the Al Burqan oil fields over there to the right. This is after the Marines had already punched through both Iraqi sandberms, and they're now trying to penetrate into the Iraqi backfield. So we'll see how this game goes as we go ahead and get started. So here is one of our new units, the Marine Corps M60A1 main battle tank. This is the tank that the Marines were mostly using still in Desert Storm. It does have ERA, explosive reactive armor panels, that give a bonus specifically against incoming rocket and missile fire only. Some of the units that require the most guesswork in order to update from Battlegroup World War II up to 1991 are helicopters like my Cobra here for my Marines. Now I am including this in my battle group up front. I don't have to draw an airstrike counter to bring him on the table. So you can see here the approximate values that I've worked up for the chain gun, the rockets, and the Hellfire anti-tank missiles, with strict ammunition loads for these more powerful weapons. So we're bringing in some Marine air power here, guys. We're going to see how it goes here in today's game. Okay, here is the data for an Iraqi T-62 main battle tank. Unfortunately, this is a Type 59 Mark II miniature here that I'm going to have to use as proxy. So apologies for not having quite the right miniature here. But records do show that T-62s were indeed the tanks up against the Marines on today's battlefield. Okay, so the Marines are on the offensive. They're going to go first as the attacker. The first thing we're going to do is roll their orders dice. It's a company-sized game, so you get 3 D6s. Plus, they have 5 officers in their force. So there is their total 15 orders for turn 1. Alright, so the Marines are going to go ahead and start off with their turn. The first thing I'm going to do is move up this Marine Rifle Squad to the crest of this abandoned Iraqi berm. Yes, a lot of these forward Iraqi positions were abandoned. The Marines had almost no resistance at all on day 1. They didn't really hit any real resistance until day 2. So again, that's why this battle takes place on day 2 of the war. The normal infantry movement rate is 5 inches, so sometimes I have to use a double movement order to move them twice and then they can't shoot. But that's okay because I want to get them to the crest of this berm. Now that's 1, 2, 3 fire teams. Again, in my unofficial modern battle group, I consider each fire team a unit, not each squad. But I wanted to get everybody up to that berm so I can start calling in indirect fire missions. As you can see, I've got a pretty good view of the battlefield from there. So some of the first fire missions I'm going to call in with those Marines are going to be fired off of my AAV-7s. Now, historically, these were the vehicles that the Marines used to fire their Mark 154 line charges from. This is basically a huge vehicle-sized dead cord cannon projector that they use to blow instantaneous lanes through Iraqi minefields. The Iraqis have a minefield. The whole board is basically a huge Iraqi minefield. That's one of the few advantages the Iraqis have in this game. So almost like artillery, these AAV-7s are going to go ahead and establish aiming points. I have a modern version of my artillery table that's a little bit more accurate than the one in World War II battle group, in official battle group. So first thing I'm going to do is roll a d6 to see how accurate this line charge is. And so that's going to be a single d6 to see how accurate it is. So the first one gets a 2. That means it's going to be off by only 1d6 inches in a random direction from its initial aiming point. So that's going to be, let's see here, 5 inches to the 4 o'clock position. Alright, so if I go over to my initial aiming point here, north on the table is 12 o'clock, 4 o'clock is in approximately that direction, and again, 5-inch difference. That's going to be the actual impact point for the front end of that Mark 154 line charge. And what it's going to do is it's going to lay a carpet of plastic, well, I don't know what kind of explosive it is, a carpet of explosive on a complete line between the firing vehicle and the impact point. And it's going to blow a lane through the minefield 3 inches to either side of that line. So it's going to basically open up a 6-inch corridor through the minefield. I'm going to trace it out there in the sand. Alright, so that's going to be a new gap in the Iraqi minefield. This other AAV is going to do the same thing. Again, 1d6 for accuracy. Again, that's a 2, so it's off by 1d6 in a random direction. 4 inches in the 11 o'clock direction. So let me find my initial aim point here, and then measure 4 inches to the 11 o'clock. So it looks like it hits right about on that chain link fence almost. And that, again, is going to open up a gap in the Iraqi minefield 4 inches wide. I'm sorry, 6 inches wide, 3 inches on either way, between the firing vehicle and where that line charge eventually landed. Alright, now it's time to get serious with my Marine air power, my AH-1 Cobra. I want to move him on the table and have him actually start engaging some things. My problem is there is some Iraqi air defense on the table. There is an SA-7 missile launcher there, and he is dangerous. So I would like to blind him or kill him. Unfortunately, I can't quite see him with my Marine Rifle Squad here through all that brush. So, those trees and rooftops and so on. So I can't really engage him or call in a mortar strike on him. That AH-1 Cobra is, at least for now, going to be on his own. Alright, so wish me luck. Here goes the Cobra, sorting forth and pivoting to port to get a bead on and suppress that Iraqi air defense. That SA-7 that's hiding back there. To be honest, I don't know why I'm measuring. That SA-7 automatically shoots first, and range does not affect its chance to hit or its damage. What it does need, however, is it gets to roll 2d6, and it needs a 6 up to hit the helicopter, subject to any countermeasures that the helicopter has. So I've done some research on what countermeasures a Cobra carries. That should say +3, not 3 dice. Sorry about that. So the long story short is, the Iraqi SA-7 crew needs a 9 up on 2d6 to hit the Cobra before the Cobra gets a chance to shoot with its onboard weapons. So here we go with 2d6, and good deal. Alright, cool. The Iraqi SA-7 has missed the Cobra. In order to return fire, the first thing I have to do is spot, so I score a 6. That Cobra definitely has the SA-7 SAM crew spotted. That just slung a missile at me, so good deal. Now I just have to choose what I'm going to do to him in reply. So out of my weapons here, for infantry, I think I'm going to go ahead and stick with my triple-barreled 20mm cannon there. It's got 7 dice in autocannon, so I find my autocannon table there on my Battlegroup chart, my aimed fire to hit table, and I'm pretty sure it's a 4-up based on the range. Let me triple check the range there. Okay, cool. So the range is between 10 and 20 inches, which gives me a 4-up to hit. With 7 dice, I'm pretty sure I've got that Iraqi command team pretty well pasted there. Oof, until I roll relatively badly there. Okay, so that Iraqi command team only has to take 2 hits, because I only scored 2 4-ups. Alright, there's 3 men in the team. I'm going to go ahead and lose my SA-7 surface-to-air missile and my sniper, because the only other man in that team is my actual force commander. Again, I've only scored 2 hits, so the Iraqis only lose 2 figures, and I want to keep my commander alive. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with, those losses indicated. Let's get some Marine tanks in action here. So I have my 3 M60A1s. They're going to go ahead, and they have an off-road movement rate of 10 inches, so that's just going to get them up there to that berm. No problem. Up they go. I'm going to take hull-down positions on that berm so I continue to get concealed bonus, while I still have line of fire out over the rest of the battlefield. So as you can see, I have pretty good lines of sight across the rest of the field here. So now it comes down to who are we going to kill first? So for starters, these 2 Marine M60s here are going to go ahead and engage that lead Iraqi T-62 obscured back there behind that brush. Okay, so actually before I even measure the range here, the first thing I have to do is observe. Now each one of those Marine tanks only gets to shoot once, because they did have to use a move and fire order. So they both made the observation checks, barely. Obscured vehicle is a 3, if he hasn't fired. So I did manage to spot them both. They both will get their 1 shot, and they both hit with 5s. Sweet! So Marine tanks are already scoring hits on Iraqi armor here. Good deal. Okay, now to resolve the penetration of those 2 hits on the Iraqi tank. How I get these values, by the way, is I find these same weapon systems and other wargame systems. I compare them versus systems that do appear in Battlegroup, and I sort of extrapolate and reverse engineer what those firepower and penetration values should be in Battlegroup. It looks like this is going to be a pretty easy penetration here. It's a close range 105mm American rifle against the front armor plate of a T-62, and geez, I didn't know it was going to be that easy. Wow, 3 up on 2d6. Okay. Actually, I almost missed that one. And the second one is an easy penetration. So yeah, there we go. That's 1 dead T-62. Again, point-blank tank fire with American guns. Yeah, not too tough, to be honest. Next order of business is to smoke that fool. Alright, so we got a burning T-62 over there. And now let's see what that third American M60 tank is going to do. He's going to take a much longer range shot on one of those T-55s back there behind the berm. So I do observe him, even though he's an obscured vehicle that hasn't fired yet. And now it's a long range shot. We're going to see if I can hit him or not. And actually, no, because of the berm, I do miss that Iraqi tank, so no hit there. One thing I have been forgetting to do is to draw battle rating counters, so let me go ahead and get caught up on that. I have that burning T-62 over there, and an Iraqi fire team that was destroyed off camera, so that's going to be 2 units, 2 battle rating counters. I draw a 3 and a 4, and that's going to give the Iraqis a damage score so far of 7 out of 30. Oh boy, here's something else I forgot. The Iraqis have a lot more air defense, so they could have shot at that Cobra coming in. I'm talking about that ZSU-23-4 Shilka that should have taken a shot before the Cobra had a chance to fire. So let me go ahead and fix that now. So I'm going to go ahead and measure the range. We're between 10 and 20 inches. And the Shilka will take 2 autocannon shots. Again, 2 because double fire order did not move. Automatic observation. The chance is normally a 4 for an autocannon shot at this range. I'm going to go ahead and make it a 5 because, again, we're firing at a flying aircraft. So basically 2 chances at a 5-up. Please miss. Not to be honest. Okay, cool. Sweet. Alright, so no harm, no foul. The game is still correct. The Shilka has fired and it is missed twice, so no effect. Good deal. So I'm noticing that I've left my AAVs here really vulnerable to these 3 T-55s that are going to get a double fire order next turn if I don't do something about it pretty damn quick. So the first thing I've done is I've moved this anti-tank infantry team, these dragons, up to the crest of that berm here. They're going to try and observe and take a missile shot at that first T-55. So yeah, my dragons have a range out to 40. Let me see what the range is here on the table. Okay, it's just over 30, so I am technically in range. First thing I'm going to do is try to make an observation check. I only get 1 because I had to move. Cool, I made it. 2 is the normal target number for an anti-tank guided missile to hit its target. However, that T-55 has partial protection from its sandberm, so we're going to crank that target number up to a 3. So, making our roll, boom, 4. That Dragon anti-tank missile has hit the target. We're going to find the penetration value for our Dragon. Notice the penetration value on anti-tank guided missiles never decreases over range. It's a self-propelled warhead. So we're going to compare that 12 against an H, that's the frontal armor value on a T-55. We're going to cross-reference those two values here on our armor penetration table. And, oh man, look at that, 4. That's not going to be very difficult at all. It's 4 on 2d6. So it's finding and spotting and hitting the Iraqi tanks, that's the hard part. Once it hits, a 1991 Desert Storm era weapon is going to go through Iraqi armor without much trouble at all. So the Humvee with the TOW anti-tank missile is going to try and help out as well. It's come on the board. I only get 1 observation check, and okay, I did observe barely. So now I'm going to go ahead and get a missile shot off at him. Again, I need a 3-up to get an anti-tank guided missile hit against an obscured target behind the sandberm. And that too, that is a miss. The TOW has missed. Okay, time to draw a battle rating counter against the Iraqis for that destroyed T-55. So let's see what they get here, and oh, look at that! The Iraqis finally get a break. So rather than draw a number that gets assigned against their battle rating total score there, they instead get an ammunition low counter that they get to apply against a Marine unit. That Marine unit will then only get 1 more fire phase for the rest of the game. So, do we apply it against the Marine tanks? Obviously you want to apply it against a powerful unit. Or the Cobra. Honestly, I think the Cobra is a little bit more powerful than the tanks. So, yeah. As the Iraqi player, I'm going to go ahead and apply that ammunition low counter against the Cobra. So, yep, there we go. Alrighty, so kicking off the Iraqi turn, we're going to go ahead and roll 3d6 for a company-sized game. This is their order dice, plus 4 officers. There's their orders for the turn. So here's what I was not looking forward to. Yeah, these 2 T-55s are going to take double fire orders against that AAV-7 in the open. So it has fired. Again, it fired that line charge, remember? So, yeah, observation is automatic. I'm going to go ahead and measure the range here. Yeah, so automatic observation, double fire orders. I don't like that AAV's chances, I'm not going to lie. So finding my tape measure here, I'm going to go ahead and, okay, it is just over 20 inches, so we'll fire on the 20 to 30 range band. Alright, so again, observation's automatic. The first 2 shots from the first T-55, he needs a 4-up. And here we go. Oh man, check it out! The first Iraqi tank has completely whiffed. And the second one whiffs. Again, they needed 4-ups, and they, of all 4 shots, have missed. That AAV should be dead to rights. Somehow it survived. Holy crap, that's awesome. Let's get started with some Iraqi infantry. Alrighty, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move this surviving fire team that you can't quite see behind that building. It's going to take a move and fire order. It's going to move up a little bit and then try to engage that Marine fire team right there, you know, at practically point-blank range. The first thing it has to do is observe. They are fired infantry, obscured, and with a 1, they fail to observe. So, awesome. They can't quite spot that Marine infantry through all the dust and smoke of the battle. So, awesome. No fire there. Okay, next we're going to go ahead and move up some of these Iraqi RPG teams. There's a total of 5 RPG teams. Notice that each RPG team has an actual RPG gunner and an assistant that's carrying a backpack with additional rockets. So there's 5 2-man groups here, a total of 10 men. There's the first 4 2-man groups. There's also a squad leader back there at the corner. That last RPG team can't quite make it to where he's supposed to be, so he's just going to hide out there by the corner. So nevertheless, we have 4 of them that are now in firing position. I would like to shoot them at these Marine tanks here, but there's too much terrain in the way. The wall, the abandoned bunker, the berm itself. So we're going to go ahead and call that no joy. However, there's plenty of line of sight there on that anti-tank squad there at the crest of that berm. So now those RPG gunners are going to go ahead and take their shots. There are 4 total teams there, and they're going to try to observe Marine infantry that has fired and is obscured behind berms. That's a 3 up. Okay, so that's going to be 2 successes and 2 failures. Each Iraqi fire team only gets 1 chance to observe, again, because they did move to get to their current position. So it's going to be 2 RPG shots. They have both hit with a 5 and a 6. Alright, cool. So let's break out the RPG card here, or the Iraqi infantry card here. And we see that we're looking at each RPG does 4 dice of damage at 5 up. To actually knock down a figure with aimed fire. So, I'm going to go ahead and get 4 dice per RPG hit. Here comes the first one. Man, Iraqi luck is just not doing well here. Okay, finally. They did score 1 5 up. So at long last, we do have 1 Marine infantry figure that is knocked down. We finally have a Marine casualty. Except I put the Marine casualty against the wrong unit there. Sorry, it actually should be this anti-tank team over here. So there you go, that's 1 casualty applied, and the rest of the squad is pinned. Time for the Iraqis to put down some more infantry firepower against that Marine anti-tank squad that's there at the crest of that berm. So we have 2 Iraqi fire teams there. Neither of them had to move to get to their present position, so they both get to shoot twice. So I'm going to make 2 observation checks for each one. We have a total of 3 successes, so we're going to have 3 fire phases out of those 2 fire teams. Again, the way I play is each fire team is its own individual unit. So, oh man, a lot of dice here. 2 for an AK and 6 for a PKM. Everything is fully automatic assault rifles and light machine guns. The good news for the Marines is, again, this is a pretty long shot for infantry small arms combat, and they do have protection of the berm, so the target number works out to a 6. But again, with all these dice, even with the Iraqis rolling, the Iraqis have been rolling very badly this game. Nevertheless, the 6s are starting to stack up. We're talking about 5 total hits. That's going to knock out the rest of that Dragon team and take 2 men out of that Law team right next to them. So we finally have a Marine unit knocked down, so which means I'm finally going to draw a Marine counter to apply against their battle rating, and oh man, the Iraqis cannot buy a break. No damage to the Marines' battle rating. In fact, I get to apply a breakdown counter against an Iraqi vehicular unit. I'm going to go ahead and pick that powerful T-62 back there for the breakdown counter. So here is the actual breakdown table. I'm going to roll a D6 and see what actually happens to that Iraqi T-62. It could spontaneously blow up, but nope, with a 5, it's just immobilized for the rest of the game. So that T-62 is still operational. There's no battle rating counter gets to get drawn. It just can't move for the rest of the game. Next Iraqi action will be taken by this Shilka, which will take a single autocannon shot against this Cobra. And I'll explain why in just a second. So he rolls a 3, which is barely a miss. Again, we are applying a +1 penalty for shots against flying aircraft. Shilka will then use the second half of his action to fall back and take cover. So next Iraqi action is going to be this T-62, this last functioning T-62, which has a road movement rate of 14 inches. He will be on road the whole way, so we'll use the 14 inches. Alright, he's going to take position behind the corner of that building and then try to observe and take a fire shot at these Marine tanks back here at the crest of this berm. Vehicle that has fired, under cover, it's not too difficult to roll. Boom, he has him spotted. The Iraqi T-62 is going to take his aimed fire shot at the Marine M60 back there at the crest of that berm. So I'm going to go ahead and measure my range here. We're at just under 20 inches. That gives the Iraqi a base to hit of 3. Awesome. However, he did move earlier in this turn, and he does not have a stabilized gun. That cranks him up to a 4. The Marine has partial cover from the berm. Cranks it up to a 5. Still, if he hits, that's going to be bad news. So, okay, whew, the Marine dodged a bullet there, literally. Awesome. Wrapping up the rest of the Iraqi turn here, I've gone ahead and moved up the rest of their infantry with double movement orders out of this town and out of this oil field here across that chain link fence. We're also looking at BTRs up against the berm. The idea here is to take some of this more vulnerable Marine infantry under fire, maybe force the Marine player to draw some more battle rating counters. I mean, we'll see how it goes. Now, this is going to be an extremely asymmetrical game based on a historical scenario. And a special rule that I'm using to sort of reflect that is the Iraqi mass surrender rule, which is very simple. At the end of each Iraqi turn, all of their infantry units only, infantry, have to roll a d6, and if any 6s come up, that indicates that that Iraqi unit has surrendered to the closest American Marine unit on the table. So they're all rolling their required d6s now, and yep, okay, looks like we've got a couple of Iraqi fire teams that have surrendered to the Americans. They now move their full 10 inches towards the closest Marine unit. So, a couple considerations here. Number one, surrendering Iraqi units do not compel a battle rating counter draw, and Marine units are not allowed to shoot into or through surrendering Iraqi units because of, the rules of war and all that stuff like that. This is going to cause the Iraqi army to sort of melt away very quickly, obviously, but again, asymmetrical scenario, and the Marine battle rating threshold, the amount of damage they can take, is sort of inversely proportioned the other way to reflect how few casualties the Marines are allowed to take. So the battle is unfair, but the game, we hope, is at least a little fair. So here we are at the end of a combined turn 1. To be perfectly honest, folks, I don't expect this game to go through too many turns. But for now, we have the Iraqis still with some pretty good forces deployed behind that berm. We've got some nice lanes blown through the Iraqi minefields here, which are probably going to be used by these other Marine vehicles that I haven't even brought on the table yet. My Marine tanks are probably going to have to redeploy laterally to use those lanes open up through the minefields. I have lost an entire Marine anti-tank team. I'm not too happy about that. We've got some close infantry firefights there on the wing, and plenty of surrendering Iraqis moving towards my position, which are going to cause all kinds of problems, like they did historically, to be honest. Another thing I'm not too happy about is this ammo low counter that's been played against my brand new badass AH-1 Super Cobra, so yeah, that kind of stinks. But for now, that's where we are, folks. Please stay tuned to see how the rest of this game turns out. Thanks, as always, for all your support here on the Sitrep podcast channel. And yeah, we hope to see everybody very soon. Take care, everyone.